We'll see the next part of the international relation today. That is, one will be based on the international organization. What are the international organization? Their aims and objectives. Second, regional organization. Third, any agreement. And fourth will be the diaspora. These are the four topics we are going to see today, okay, and which we had discussed in yesterday's class also, as shown the syllabus segregation. Okay, so let's discuss first the syllabus. In the previous class, we have already discussed the IR syllabus, right? So that segregation I have made, and based on that, we identified that we have already covered the bilateral relations with the neighbors and the big powers. And today our focus area is on the international organizations, regional organization like SCO is a regional organization, which is situated in the Eurasian region, right? So that is the topic. Agreements and the diaspora. Diaspora question we wrote, regional organization we wrote. Similar international organization will be the similar like the regional organization. Agreements, I mean, we'll see like the other questions. I think agreement question is not there, and that's not required also. WTO is there. So that will cover the agreements also. Now, when it comes to the international organization or the what we say is that the diaspora, we need to identify what type of question UPSC is trying to ask. That we will try to understand first. Yesterday we did the analysis of the two part. Today we'll see the analysis of the other part. Let's see the diaspora. If you see the diaspora questions, basically they are asking two type of question. Okay, first, see this. Indian diaspora has important role to play in the Southeast Asia, which you wrote now. Basically, first of all, what is Indian diaspora? The person of Indian origin who have the origin in India. That can be any person who is living abroad, right? Now they play a role in two manner. One, they play what role they play in the society or economy of Southeast Asian country or their country where living, whether it is West Asia, Russia, US, they play certain role in the country where they are living, isn't it? In their society, economy, even in politics. They also play a role in India, in our economy, in the form of remittance, in the form of bringing investment, technology, these all things. They do that, right? So that is the two way of asking question UPSC is doing that. First, see this. Here they are asking what role they play in Southeast Asia. Here, see this. Indian diaspora has a decisive role to play in the politics and economy of America and the countries. Comment with example. Again, 2017, 2020. Now they change the region, but the question is exactly same. They change the region from Southeast Asia to US and Europe. Next time they can change to Africa also. Getting? Third question. Indian diaspora has scaled new heights in the West, describes its economic and political benefits for what? India. That means they can ask for India also. So from here, what understanding the analysis of the previous year question, what it is making us to understand is that the question on the diaspora can be of two types. Can be of two types. Type number one. Type 1. And there can be type 2. The type 1 questions are those questions where diaspora, they are asking diaspora role in India. Diaspora role in country of residence. Country of residence. Okay. In India, what is the contribution? In country of resident, what is the contribution? Now here, what they are asking, either what is their contribution on economy, what their contribution on society, and what is the contribution in politics. Exactly same they can ask here. This is the framework. I mean the analysis of the previous year question which we call. So we'll see, for this we will try to generate one template. We'll try to understand how these kind of questions can be written. Okay, clear this one? Now, as we have understood that these type of questions are being asked, that means simply what we need is that here what we need here, see, if they are asking their role, many times what they will do is that they will ask us to critically examine. See here, where is the question? Describe, it's saying comment with example, that means we need some example, appraise the role. Now whenever it says this kind of thing, we need to mention few things here. One is what, along with this role, we need to mention here what are the challenges they face. Challenges, what challenges they are facing. Along with this, what we need is that what initiatives taken by government to support them, and at the end what can be the way forward to solve this kind of questions. Way forward we have to give. So these aspects we need to cover for this particular topic. At the end, definitely conclusion. We need a small conclusion. See, these things may not be directly asked, but any question, if they are asking on this, these will create the additional thing as a value addition. We can't just write the role, right? We need to mention some challenges. What challenges they are facing in US. Many times you see that the Indians in the US has been attacked. Have you heard like that? Right? So attack over Indians. Sometimes they feel the marginalization. Many times you must have heard like the conflict has started, like in the Palestine, like in the Sudan, in the Russia, in Ukraine. Then many people of Indian origin who stuck there. The Indian government has to run operation like Operation Rahat, Operation Ajay, Operation Ganga to bring them back. So they face challenges because of the conflict, right? So this is the challenges we need to know, initiatives we need to know, some initiatives we have taken, and the way forward we need, and the conclusion we need. Okay, so that way any question of the diaspora tomorrow if come, you will be able to write them if you have prepared like this. So in your notes, when you prepare the IR notes also, your answer should contain this. Your note should contain this. Clear? And in addition to this, we need one map showing. If they are asking Southeast Asia, you need to draw that. Clear? So this much is, if you are able to bring in your answer, that answer is going to be very good. Now, such kind of answer, how can we write the introduction? Intro. See, there can be common intro. I'll give you the two types of intro. One is that you mention their importance. There is 31 million diaspora. 31 million diaspora are present in the world. How many? 31 million. This is a huge number as per the Ministry of External Affairs. 31 million. So we can start. This is the largest in the world. Any country can have. But across the world, we can start here. Okay. Second important thing is that Honorable Prime Minister called them as Rashtra Doot. What Honorable Prime Minister called them as Rashtradoot. Rashtradoot means the informal ambassador. So in the introduction, you can use in the conclusion also that Indian diaspora has been termed by Honorable Prime Minister as Rashtradoot. That signifies their importance, right? They are informal ambassador, not formal. They are informal ambassadors. Who said? Honorable Prime Minister Modi. That signifies their role, significant role. You can start like this also. Third way of starting the introduction is by defining definition of diaspora. Define the diaspora, which you will study in your class, like the people with Indian origin, right? Clear? Okay. Now let's go to the body part. In the body, they are asking the role in India. So here we are going to see. We can write in the here. What we need is that first they are asking economic role. In economic role, what can be the economic role? First important thing is that what is the most important thing here? Investment they bring, right? Investment. In the form of what? FDI, foreign direct investment they bring. Okay. Along with this, what is the important thing they bring? Technology. Then, and the other? Yes, that's a very important point. That is the remittances. This is the source of forex reserve. And remember this data. $87 billion, approximately $87 billion of annual remittance they bring, and this is largest in the world. $87 billion. Remember, 31 million diaspora, $87 billion remittance. These two fact data you need to remember to substantiate your point. Okay, remittance. Then any other technology point. Now you can bring the technology. Then brain gain. What is this word? Brain gain. We write the brain drain. Brain gain is also the point. That is, the brain comes back in the form of human capital. That is, they learn the skill, technology, they come back and do the research and the investment, start the startups in India. So these are the four aspects of economy. You can also start up. Many diaspora have started startups in India. Clear? So whenever it comes to the economic contribution, these are going to be the dimension. Okay? Same for the other side also, except this part. Because remittance is something which comes to your country. But if, say, the role in their origin, their own country, then how can it be the remittance? It can be the remittance when they bring back from India. Suppose their relatives are sending money to them which are staying. Suppose my brother is staying in Southeast Asia. If I am sending money to my brother, it will be the remittance for that particular country. So this same dimension can be created for them. Now think about the same question, Southeast Asia. Open your answer. Now they have asked us to write the economic contribution. Have we mentioned about the investment? Have we mentioned about the remittance, technology, brain gain, startups? They contribute in trade. They contribute in the different type of innovations. Here one more point you can write, that is trade. Trade contribution. They facilitate the trades. So these are the different dimensions you can write in the economic role. Let's go to the next, that is social role. Role in society. Role in society. The first role in the society is what? What they do? Huh? Yes. One is that cultural contribution. So in cultural contribution, most of the time what happens is that they preserve Indian culture, also they lead to hybridization of culture. Like the countries like Cambodia, there is Hindu cultures are very popular. Some Hindu temples, popular Hindu temples are there in Cambodia, Laos and some other countries. So they celebrate the festivals like Diwali, Dasara, these things. But you know this thing very well, that any festival, any culture, when it comes to a particular society, it leads to the hybridization. They will adopt some of their culture. Indian food system, Indian cuisines, these all things will come. So hybridization of culture. Second is promotion of Indian in the society. They promote education. Many of the Indian NGOs, Indian origin, have started the NGOs in other countries. They promote education. They promote the development through philanthropies. Philanthropic activities. So Indian also who are outside, they fund some scholarships, some kind of NGO activities, they fund here. They fund the education in India. Okay, so and then these are the points, like the cultural contribution. This is the most important. Educational contribution, philanthropic activities. Okay. Lastly is the political contribution in the polity. See, what they do is that they help in the development of people-to-people relations, which is the part of the soft power. They help in the development of soft power. Okay. Second is that they create as pressure group. You know what is pressure group? You know what is pressure group, Tom? It's a part of our syllabus also, GS2. What is it? Ability to influence the policies. It can be the formal or informal group of people who share the common interest, and they try to pressurize the government to influence the policy. That is a pressure group. Now think about how the Indian diaspora can help in creating the pressure group. They can, right? In the US, the businesses are so strong that they can influence the government, local government, and sometimes the Indian government also. The national government also. So the pressure group is a very important aspect here. They influence the politics. Okay. And third is propaganda. They promote the propaganda. Propaganda is not always a negative term. Propaganda, if you are promoting to achieve something, the positive aspect of it, it's not negative. So Indian diaspora try to create the positive image of India in the other country, so that it leads to the creation of more support base for India. So 3P is important here. That is people to people relation, pressure group, and propaganda whenever it comes to the polity. Same happens with in India also. They try to influence. Basically, they are the communicator of India. They are the communicator of India in the foreign country because they work at the grassroots. They interact with the actual people. We may think that our ambassadors who are sitting in the embassies and the consulates, they do not have the direct communication or the direct relation with the grassroots people, the ground level people. But our people who are living with them, meeting them in the park, in the restaurant, in the educational institution, they talk about India. And that helps India to counter the politics of China, Pakistan, these countries who try to defame India on the issues like Kashmir, Northeast region. So these people who can communicate with them in the strong voice and with the conviction, they can create the positive image about the India that can help India to achieve its soft power. Right? So they have the very important role. So you're getting, these are the dimensions we can easily use. You have to think like them. Okay? So don't try to mug up here. You have to understand. You have to understand. We don't need the points. We need the dimensions. So 3 dimensions: propaganda, pressure group, personal. So individual level, in the group level, in the collectively how they promote. Here either they promote in culture, education, or some social service. Right? This social service can act many ways. How they ensure the women empowerment, ensure the human rights, ensure like Myanmar. Military rule is there, human rights violations are there, they support it, work against it. These are the economic dimension. Right? Now it comes to the challenges. These challenges can be either the domestic challenges or the external challenges, domestic, or you can say the internal. That means this, what are the challenges within India and what are the challenges in the country. Within India, the problem is that the policy constraint. We lack the diaspora region specific policies. So the absence or a lack of region specific policy. So the first is the policy level. Second is that human resource deficit. And third is that fund deficit. Third, data deficit. This also you can say policy deficit. So the 4 deficits are there. See this. Either think about, this is not like the very unique to this. Think about anything, any initiative, if you want to criticize any sector. Either there can be issue in the policy, law, regulations. Either that regulation will be absent or there will be having some issue with it. Take the mob lynching. You know mob lynching? Mob violence, when the crowd kills any person. India lacks the specific law to regulate the mob lynching policy. You talk about anything, road sector. India lacks the exact policy or the law to regulate the road safety. Or either that policy is not effective. Why rapes are happening in India? Let's say that the policies are not effective. Some way lacking is there. Second, human resource. Will it come or not? Do we have the sufficient number of police personnel? No. Do we have the sufficient number of diplomats? No. 31 million. And how many we have the Indian Foreign Service officers? Very few. 60 every year we are recruiting. Okay, that's the problem. Think about the fund. always a problem. You become any officer, any leadership, fund will always the problem here also. Now you will say, what is the requirement of fund here? If you want to start the propaganda, you have to pay the this media, you have to pay the start some cultural activity, you need to arrange the conferences, you need to have the meetings with the diaspora, you need funds. If you are a diplomat posted in the Myanmar, if you don't have the fund, how you can organize them? Comes the data deficit. How many exact number of are there? Okay, 31 million. How many women? What is the age group? What they are doing? So many data are required. Those data, integrated data in the region wise is the deficit. Always it will be deficit. Either deficit or the quality of data will not be sufficient. So this is not something, these 4 deficits are not something which is specific to this, but any issue can be used, right? Now here in the external, the first problem is conflicts in that particular country. Second, cultural marginalization. Third, racial abuse or discrimination. Fourth, political marginalization or lack of presence in the political. Then policy discrimination, like kafala law. If you have heard about kafala law in the South America, what they do is that they target Indians. H1B visa they will cancel. So always some policy discrimination or the policy uncertainty is there. Suppose you are there now, they suddenly US says then those from India go get out. What they will do? So the policy uncertainty is very huge issue. So these are the 5 issues for the external. These are the 4 issues from the internal point of view. Okay, you can use them. The dimension. See, the conflicts are, you know, the common thing. Here template is not required. Conflict is always a problem. Cultural marginalization is a common thing because they are minorities. Then racial abuse, you know this. Political marginalization. If they don't have the sufficient number, they can't get elected on the leadership position. If they are not in a leadership position, you will be marginalized. This is very common. Policy discrimination. If the politicians itself are not there, how they will make policy for them? Isn't it? So these are the issues. There are so many others are also there, like travel restrictions are there. There are retreat in globalization is also a problem. Globalization, deglobalization is happening. No? I mean, because of the nationalism, more focused on the national. So deglobalization is also a point that you can write. Deglobalization. Many countries recently in the New Zealand happened. There was Sikh event was going on. They were protesting. Have you seen that news? Yes. So that, what is that? Basically, it is not the land for you. It is the Christian land. Go out, go get away to your India. Like that, they were having the slogans. So such kind of things are going on. That is a threat to the diaspora. Okay. So these are the challenges. Now, in the way forward, what you are going to suggest? You are going to suggest about first is that give the policy. You need the dedicated policy, that is region specific policy. You will say budget, that is a fund, budget allocation. Now see, one thing is that in the era of AI and technology, you can't suggest to infuse more human resource. You know that if you will go to the interview and you will say, sir, we need more human resource. Never, I mean, not never, but try to be efficient also. You should be able to show the examiner that You are not the person who always seeks, give me fund, give me resource, give me, then only I will do. How you are able to make things change with the limited resource, that shows your ability to get things done with the efficiency. That is called as stewardship. Stewardship, that we study in ethics. So budget, what you can say is that technology, use of technology, that is basically e-governance in diaspora. What diaspora need for registration, for grievance redressal, for any issues? For that e-governance you can suggest. To tackle what? To tackle the deficit in human resource. You can't suddenly say bring the more IFS officers. It's not possible immediately. So in short term, this. But in long term, you can say that gradually India can increase the number of diplomats. Right? Then what is the next problem? Data. Data collection and management. Here also role of, you can say that the what is it, that's called data mining, role of data mining, and one more term is there. What is it? There is one job also, no, for this data management, data analysis, data analyst. Using technology like AI, using AI based data analysis is required. This is one of the key area India is lacking. We don't have the specific rescue and rehabilitation policy for the diaspora. This issue should come in your answer. So see, these points are not, I'm not creating a unique point except the last point. Last point is important because you know that rescue is the most common thing. If any time conflict happen, you have to bring them back. We need a specific policy for that you can suggest. But this is the region specific policy for that particular regional development. Other point is coming directly from here. You can't work here, it's difficult. You can work here, you can allocate fund, you can, at most what you can do is that bringing the diaspora key in the trade agreements. You can say the diaspora as priority agenda in trade agreements and international fora. That is, this is also very important. So whenever you are making the trade deal with any country, try to include the diaspora as an issue, key issue. That also should be. Okay. So these are the issues way forward. In conclusion, so there is one event which is called as a initiative. Let's talk about initiatives. There is one initiative called Pravasi Bharti Divas. Have you heard about this? Pravasi Bhartiya Divas. Centers of Cultural Relations. Then you have Madad Portal. You have Swades for skill. This is for rescue and help. if any skill development. This is for the skill development. Migration and mobility agreements. We have signed like with Italy. We have signed with New Zealand, Australia. These countries we have signed migration and mobility agreements. So these are some of the initiatives you can mention in your answers. We need integrated and inclusive diaspora policy to make Indian diaspora key stakeholder in Amrit Kal. See, one question is going to come, one conclusion you need, one intro you need, what they can change in the demand. So there you need to change. If you have this 15 mark, you can get very good marks here. 8, 9, you can extend your marks. Clear? Then this conclusion can be written. You can fit with any question. Any question this can fit. Now let's see the answer which I have written. But before that, I want to see your answers. This is the first question. That is the Indian diaspora. The first question says, the Indian diaspora has an important role to play in Southeast Asian countries' economy and society. They gave a context. Then appraise the role of Indian diaspora in Southeast Asia in this context. You have to prioritize their contribution in Southeast Asia country in economy and society. You can write political contribution, no issue. But if you are writing the political contribution as the first point, that's not right. You need to prioritize this. I'm not saying that the writing political is wrong, but as per the key demand of the question, they are mentioning the context. In this context, you have to write. Getting? So that is the learning first. Now, as we have discussed already, how to write the introduction, see this. India have around 31 million strong diaspora with significant number in the Southeast Asia. Simple 3-line introduction. Now, role of Indian diaspora in Southeast Asia, I gave a small map. Here, economic role, investment. Here gives you the examples. You need to learn to create examples. You may not have remembered the example, but definitely you know that palm oil is very important in Indonesia. Don't you think some of the Indian business people will be involved in the palm oil trade and the refinery or the production? Can you say I'm wrong here? No, it's difficult to prove. Will you, if you are an examiner, will you go in Southeast Asia and check like whether the Indians are there or not? No. Will you Google it? First of all, they are not allowed to have the phone there while evaluation. Okay, but don't. I mean, I'm not saying you to bluff, but a common sense says that they are involved, and we have read also many times in newspaper. Because now they are learning from there, they can come to India and do the palm oil production in India. Then trade with the native and other countries, strong human capital in the form of skill labor, that is IT professional is Vietnam. What I know is that Vietnam is a competitor of India in IT sector. Indian IT professionals are very popular across the world. So why can't be there in the Vietnam? Example, no need to prepare these things. You have to use your common sense here to create the examples. Okay, these things require practice. Innovation and R&D in scientists with the Indian origin. Definitely they will be doing. Role in, so you see the dimensions, how it has been used. I have given you the template. Investment, trade, R&D, check. Investment, trade, R&D. And one more, skill development, human capital. So those are the dimensions are there, you have to use here. Okay, example you need to create, because see, how can you prepare the examples for the Southeast Asia? Tomorrow they might give the Africa, South America. How many examples you will mug up? But if they write like the give the Africa, definitely agriculture is more dominant in Africa. So Indians will be involved in the coffee production. Coffee is very popular. Sorry, the cocoa is very popular in the Africa. That much I know. So Indian companies might be involved there in South Africa, in Kenya, in Ghana. Some countries name I know. I can create the example. Mining is very popular. Minerals are there. Oil reserves are there. They might be involved there. Yes or no? Yes. Getting? So that way you have to create. So role in society, cultural fusion and hybridization, Indian festivals like Diwali, you know, in Cambodia. Education by activists and NGO with the Indian origin like Seva in Myanmar. Seva is an international organization, you know, na? Self-employment for women association. Ila Bhatt, you don't know? Seva. No, okay. So this is one NGO which works in India and they have the international presence. So they do some work. Human rights promotion in the enlightened Indians in diaspora. Artistic contribution in the form of music, dance. Definitely there are some musicians who are working there. Then challenges, racial abuse, low political participation, conflicts, which I have given the dimensions. Pravasi Bharati Divas envisions the diaspora as Rashtradoot, need a specific diaspora policy to resolve their challenges. See, you cannot, just copy paste what you have prepared. But the key idea is there is a need for the policy, which I have given in the conclusion. So that you have to frame as per the demand of the question. Clear? Okay. Now let's go to the second part of the question. Second question. Sorry, this part. We understood the diaspora topic comprehensively. Now UPSC will give any question in diaspora, you can easily write. Okay. Now we'll see this regional organization, Indian international organization and agreements. So before that, let's analyze the PYQ. See, in the regional organization here, I'll show you the regional organizations. NATO is a regional organization, isn't it? NATO is a regional organization. Now what they are asking, the expansion and the strengthening of NATO and a stronger US-European strategic partnership works well for India. What is your opinion about this statement? Give reason and example to support your answer. Now, if you understand, this is a complex question, but the simple thing is that NATO is strengthening. Now, it's saying if NATO strengthen, what will be the consequence or what will be the implication on the interest of India? Right? The crux of it. See this question. Virus of conflict is affecting the functioning of SCO. In light of the above statement, point out the role of India in mitigating the problem. Again, SCO, what is the relation with India? How it is impacting the India? How India is impacting the SCO? What is the relationship? Getting? Next. This is SCO is regional organization. How will I2U2, India, Israel, UAE, USA grouping transform India's position in the global politics? I2U2, how it is impacting interest of what? India, right? Go to the next. I'm not skipping anything. Do you think BIMSTEC, this is the regional organization. BIMSTEC is a parallel organization like the SAARC. What are the similarities and dissimilarities between the two? How are Indian foreign policy objectives realized by the forming the new organization? Now see, this second part, what are the similarities and dissimilarities between the two, that is BIMSTEC and SAARC? This is a specific question. There is no trend in it. Specifically they are asking what is the difference. If you know the member countries, Pakistan is not there in the BIMSTEC, but it's there in the SAARC. You can write. What is the region and what is this region? Thailand is the part of the SAARC, but not part of, Thailand is a part of the BIMSTEC, not part of the SAARC, right? But the other part is similar. How the new organization BIMSTEC is going to impact India, how our Indian foreign policy objectives are achieved. Isn't it? Same question. Similarly, AUKUS they are asking, discuss the strength and impact of AUKUS in the present scenario. Similar question. What is the impact is going to be on the Indian objective? This you have written today. What importance does it hold for India? SCO, impact on India. Exact same question. This is not on the Quad. So they are taking the regional organizations which are being created and how they are going to impact the India. See, if you see the syllabus also is the same. Affecting India's interest. Regional and global groupings affecting India's interest. So from here, one thing we got by analysis of this topic, that is regional organization. If question is coming from the regional organization or any agreement, what exactly they are asking is that the organization impact on India's interest. What kind of interest? Our geopolitical. They are using this word, or on foreign policy or strategic interest. These are the three things they are asking. Any organization that is regional organization, what is the impact on India's interest? This is the analysis of the previous year question, most of the question. I'm not saying every question can be like this only. They can vary. But most of the question based on the analysis, you find this. Note it down. Clear? Done? So now, if we have to derive like what is basically what we need is that what can be the component? If we know what are the different components of a foreign policy, strategic interests and geopolitics, we can relate it. Isn't it? We can write simply. Now, they give AUKUS, they give I2, U2, SAARC, or whatever. If we know the foreign policy, it will help us to think in those dimensions. So let's create the foreign policy. Foreign policy means what? What dimension? We have already covered in yesterday class. It involves geo-strategic policies. Isn't it? That is, what is our strategic policy? Strategic policy involves what? Involves defense policy, security policy. Isn't it? What is our security? What is going to be our defense? Because defense is the top priority of any country. Security and integrity, unity of one country is the top priority. And here, the three objectives, remember, three issues are always there. One is terrorism. Okay, anti-terrorism. Third is border security. Isn't it? Border security, terrorism, and third is the extremism. Extremism like left-wing extremism, northeast region extremism. These three are the key pillar. If you see in the foreign policy, we discuss with other countries around these three areas. The triple, basically the triple agenda we have in the security and the strategic relation. So now let them give the topic. Let them give the topic, any topic. Let them give the ASEAN. Now, ASEAN is related with the defense. Yes, we can export the defense. We can have the defense pact. We can counter the China. In the strategic, remember, in the countering the China, we can ensure the prevention of drug trafficking from that golden triangle. We can counter the radicalization. We can counter the illegal immigrants into India. We can counter the terrorism which is there in the Myanmar. So you have to link like that. Let them give me any topic, Quad, how Quad can help in the counter-terrorism, how Quad can help in the defense in the Indian Ocean region, how Quad can help in the ensuring the security of India. Getting? So Quad is helping India to ensure our things. Now if they give, now that yesterday we discussed about the trilateral which is originating in South Asia. What is the trilateral? Evolving in South Asia? China, Bangladesh, Pakistan. Now the China, Bangladesh, Pakistan have become close because of the issues in the Bangladesh. Now if the UPSC can ask what can be this impact of this trilateral which is emerging in the South Asia between the China, Pakistan and Bangladesh. Can we ask the interest on the foreign policy of India? What would be your top priority in the points? What would be? Security, isn't it? Now, earlier we had the two-front war, Pakistan-China. Now we will be having three-front war. Imagine the security situation. Imagine the security situation in the northeast region, that chicken neck, Siliguri corridor. Bangladesh is one side, China is the other side. Impact. Terrorism. Pakistan is their terrorism, here Bangladesh terrorism. What will happen? Right? So, my point here is that you need to learn how an organization can influence the geostrategic interests. See guys, we are not here just discussing the kind of template here. It's actually, you have to think like that only in foreign policy. We are learning to prioritize the point. I'm not just giving the template, okay, this is a template, write like this. No, its significance you have to understand. That's why yesterday the problem in your answer is not like that you don't have point. It is that the core understanding about the subject is required. And this is the foreign policy understanding. Prioritization of your issue. National security is the top issue. What are the three issues India is facing in terms of national security? Cross-border terrorism, that border disputes, and extremism. These are the three top priority. As a diplomat, tomorrow you are going to discuss this. Whether you are in Quad, whether you are in SCO, whether you are in SAARC or any other organization. Isn't it? So this is going to be your first point. The second point you discuss is geo-economic. Is an important pillar of your foreign policy. Don't you think Dr. S. Jaishankar, when he will be going and discussing the foreign policy, he will be discussing on the top basis which issue of economic? Huh? Investment. Before that also. Trade. Within the trade also, what is the top priority for India right now? Huh? Trade agreement. Within that. Export is the part of trade only, no? Trade, investment, then? Huh? Technology, then? Tariff is a part of trade only, then? See, for India, this is the top priority. Energy security. The major issue is this one, because India doesn't have energy, especially the petroleum, natural gas. So this is, imagine the situation if energy is not there. Okay, technology is not coming. Okay, trade is not happening. Okay, investment is not happening. Okay, but the petroleum is not coming. Everything which is existing will collapse. Again, it's the foreign policy prioritization. Now, if somebody will ask you to compromise between you want the investment or you want the energy, you tell me as a diplomat which you will prioritize. Energy, right? Up to that time when we are not self-reliant in the energy, we can't create the oil, crude oil, but we can seek the alternative, ethanol, in the terms of bioethanol, solar, electricity. These all things we can search. Nuclear energy, we are searching, but it will take time. Till we reach there, we need to focus on the energy diplomacy. So the energy diplomacy is the key. And see how India even challenged the countries like Europe and the US to get the crude oil from the Russia. We have faced international media criticism just because energy. You imagine the level of priority we have for this energy. You have seen that, na? How they were questioning, how can we are putting sanction on the Russia and you are importing importing oil from the Russia? How can you do that? We have done that. So that much important energy is. Then definitely comes your trade. Okay, and here the priority is, okay, we want trade, but we want to protect the small marginal farmers and MSME, and that's why these areas you have to bring the issue. Third is investment. Fourth is technology. And fifth is connectivity, infrastructure. This we have already discussed in yesterday's class. This is going to be the foreign policy, isn't it? Next is the geopolitics. Third aspect is geopolitics. Here the key thing is that, see, what is the India's role in geopolitics? Start with this multilateral world order, or you say the multipolar world order is a key area of discussion in the global groupings. Okay, we want the multipolar, not the unipolar or the bipolar, right? This is the key area. Second, in the politics, which is discussed, the counter China. This is a key political dimension of India's association in the foreign policy. Whether their association with the Bangladesh, why we are supporting Sri Lanka too much, so that we can counter the Chinese influence. Why we need a strong relation with the ASEAN, so that we can counter the Chinese influence in the Southeast Asian countries, isn't it? So the counter China is a key political dimension of our foreign policy, right? Third is the reformed multilateral institutions like UNSC reform, WTO reform, IMF reform. These are key area of discussion in Indian foreign policy, right? We seek now, we need the permanent membership of UNSC. What is that? That's political dimension, isn't it? The fourth, we have this Vishwa Guru aspiration. Vishwa Guru aspiration, and the leader of South, global South. This will influence our policies. The leader of global South. We want to become that. So our foreign policy will be determined by this one. And lastly, the fourth is the development. It requires the climate change, disaster management, and fifth is the people to people relation, or let's create as a soft power policy. It requires people to people relation, cultural exchange. These are the dimensions of the foreign policy we need to bring in our answers. So any grouping, how that is impacting these dimensions, we are impacting. Clear? Now you bring any organization, any agreement, you can write. If they ask like how it impacts, they can change foreign policy, strategic interest, global politics. You bring these dimensions. Okay. The last type of question is international organization. Here some unique question you will get. This you can solve through your prelims preparation. So now you are going for the prelims preparation. So please keep in mind this aspect so that you can cover your mains also. See, in these kind of issues, what they are asking is that the two things. If you see the syllabus also, in the syllabus what they have mentioned, they see this. Important international institution, agencies and fora, their structure and mandate. Mention this point. Structure and mandate means what? Structure means what is their governing structure. WTO have the general council. The governing council is there. Then you have the governing board is there. Right? So the governing council, the heads are the ministers. Governing board, you have the RBI governor as the head. Right? So what is the structure they can ask? You will see that. Mandate, what is the objective of that particular organization? What is the goal of that particular organization? What function they perform? Two aspects are important as per the syllabus. But they can ask us to, every organization facing some criticism. WTO is facing some challenges, IMF is facing some challenges, UN itself is facing some challenges. So we need to know certain challenges they are facing. Okay, so these organizations have, see the question here. What it is asking? IMO, role of IMO in protecting environment and enhancing. Mandate, isn't it? IMO mandate. Clean energy is the order of the day. Briefly discussed, changing. This is the different question. See, WHO, role of WHO in providing the global health security, critically examined. That means some positive roles, some negative roles. Then UNESCO, fighting for the life. Discuss the statement in the US withdrawal. When US came out of it, what challenges UNESCO face. Then WTO, how they are surviving the present contracts and keeping in mind the interest of India. ECOSOC, that is United Nations Economic and Social Council, main functions. Explain different functional commissions. This is on the functional commissions means what? They are asking what? What is which part? Structure. What are the different commissions attached? See here, aims and objectives of this commission. Here also WTO. My point here is that IMF they have asked, World Bank they have asked, Bretton Woods Commission. My point here is that when you prepare the prelims, try to see their mandates. Because in prelims this topic is there, na? International organization, UPSC asks questions on it. So there what you have to see, whenever we introduce this organization, we give their origin. Suppose IMF, Bretton Woods Commission we write, UN, origin we will give, UNESCO, origin we will give. But two things keep in mind when you are covering the international organizations. One thing you have to see, what aspect you need to know is that the origin, that is year of establishment. Okay. Second, you need is the headquarter. We mentioned in the answer, in the introduction itself. Okay. Third, the mandate or goal or objectives. The fourth, you need what? Structure. That is governing body or commissions under the organization. These four aspects, while you are preparing for the prelims, try to focus this. Okay, because these can be asked in the prelims also. So if you are preparing from prelims point of view, it will help you in the mains answer also. From the mains point of view, what is important is that critical examination of role, that is positive role, and issues, challenges, that is you need positive role and challenges, issues, gaps. And lastly, you need the way forward. Okay. One thing I can give you here is that as per the Indian government report, any international organization or regional grouping have three areas of goal. One is the peace and security. Second is human rights. And third is development. You give me any international organization. This point, why it is important is that sometimes you may not remember the goals, mandates of any specific organization. Suppose they gave that international telecommunication organization, something like that. Every organization, remember, they want the peace. In their vision document, they will be having the peace as the key area. They will be having the human rights as the key area. Development, that is economic development, social development, education, health, these all things. So the three agendas are common in almost all institutions. Okay, so in these three areas, try to think your answer. What can be their role? What can be the challenges? Every point, whether it is role, whether it is challenges, positive aspect and negative aspect, we have to think from these 3 point of view. Peace and security. Now, critically examine the role of United Nations. Do you think they have ensured the peace and security? Yes. In many aspects. Do you think they are ensuring the human rights? Yes. Do you think they are ensuring the development? Yes. But now see the criticism. Have they been able to stop the Palestine and the Israel conflict? No. Have they able to stop the Russia-Ukraine war? No. Could they prevent the Myanmar coup? No. Issues. Human rights. Is there human rights violation with Rohingya Muslim? Yes. They could not stop. In the different region, human rights violations are there. In the South Sudan is happening. They are not able to stop. Development. Poverty is there in the world? Yes. Right? Climate change is happening? Yes. Inequity is there? Yes. Right? So the same dimension is important. Don't write just like the, okay, peace is not there. You have to bring these 3 areas, and that's the template here. Okay, 3 areas. And it's not like it's not like the political economic strategic. This I brought from the government document. Whenever government of India is giving any suggestion to the international organization, they are trying to focus on these 3 aspects if you analyze overall. So it creates a good answer for us if we are able to talk about these areas. Okay, so this is going to create for us the objectives as well as the role we can discuss among these dimensions, as well as the criticism also. Okay, so these are the things. Now let's try to write the questions. Okay, second question we have not discussed. No? Second question is, critically examine the aims and objectives of SCO. What importance does it hold for India? Now, SCO is a multilateral intergovernmental organization formed in 2001 with 9 members countries. Here, this is complete fact from the prelims. You prepare year, how many members, who are the members, these all things we create, prepare for the prelims. That's why I told you have to remember the year. You need to remember who are the members, who are not the members, and then what is the headquarter. Then aims and objectives: security, anti-terror, anti-separation, anti-radical, that is the extremism. Security is the key area, we have seen there. Multilateralism and the multipolar world order, they want this multipolar world order, the key goal, because it's basically anti-US. Overall, if you see, the SCO was formed to counter this NATO and this one, G7, NATO, their hegemony. So they want the multipolar world. Then economic growth and prosperity, this is a developmental aspect. This is security and peace aspect. And this one is the multipolar, is specific to the SCO, which I knew. Here I could have written that that human right wala point also, but space and that is constraint is there. That's why I skip that. But you can write that also. Because they asked us to critically examine. That means I have to talk about however following issues impact achievement of these goals. What? Chinese dominance over the agenda. You know, the SCO is considered as a Chinese organization. Then China-Pakistan nexus is there. Disputes among the member countries, they themselves are fighting how they will collaborate. Following important it holds for the India. Still following important hold for India. Gateway to Central Asia, Central Asian countries. Counter Chinese propaganda. There. This is a key foreign policy goal I told. Then this is for the trade. This is energy cooperation. As you know, energy is a key area for India. Anti-terror, as you know, security is the key area of foreign policy in India. You see that the implementation of the understanding which have drawn any organization influence on India. Security is there, terror is there, energy is there, counter Chinese there, and this is the Central Asia is specific to that particular question. SCO is the key pillar of strategic autonomy and balancing power in the global politics for India. Here generally we have to prepare some quotes. We need to prepare certain quotes by Dr. S. Jaishankar, by Prime Minister to use there. In the international organization, we will prepare quote of Secretary General of United Nations, Antonio Guterres. His quotes are useful. And in the Indian foreign policy, Dr. S. Jaishankar quote. And here we can't create the quote because we need the recent quote, which is well known. Sometimes they said that India is not sitting in the fence. We are sitting in our side. And so such kind of quotes are required. So that's why here conclusion, I have created some keywords I have used. Understood here? So how use the dimension like this, critically examine the different dimension, and that way you can write these questions. So WTO question was little unique, and this kind of question will be unique because UPSC asks such kind of question only. So the first question, second question, sorry, which question? Third question. I don't need to explain, but here one thing is missing in almost all answer is that, see, the question is, the Indian diaspora has scaled new heights in the West. Describe its economic and political benefits for India. Now, Indian diaspora, when you write the introduction, you have mentioned the 31 million, but you have not contextualized with the West as per the demand of the question. So you need to modify a little bit and write as per the demand of the question. Okay, you can't just copy paste. Otherwise, the introduction is like a copy paste. You need to contextualize with the demand of the question. West. If it is Southeast Asia, contextualize. If it is Africa, contextualize. So here, how I have done? India have around 31 million strong diaspora with significant population in West. Now here, the demand is that has scaled new heights in the West. So this part, like the West, USA 2% of the population, UK 6%. Key leaders like Rishi Sunak in UK, European entrepreneurs like Sundar Pichai. You have written also the same points. This can be written in the separate heading. I missed that. I should have written this as a separate heading, but I should not give the whole page to this part. This is not the core demand. So this part should be the little, maybe till here it can be written. But it's not wrong because I have addressed that. I could have given the better presentation, but I have not missed the demand of the question. I have addressed that skill. Now here, economic and political benefits for India, economic benefits, remittance, investment, brain gain, technology, these things you all know. You have written very nicely. Political benefit also, pressure group, positive propaganda, these also you know, soft power and these things. Recent anti-India protests, this is the challenges and this is the way forward. This I don't need to discuss much. Here we have written pressure group, positive propaganda to counter Pakistan, people to people ties, soft power, challenges, anti-India protests and deglobalization, racism, trade barriers, integrated and inclusive diaspora policy is required. Next question. Here the most issues are there. What are the key areas of reform in WTO? Has to survive. If the WTO has to survive in the present context of trade war, especially keeping in the mind of interest of India. Here the problem here is that most of you have faces, all of you have faces, is that they have asked reform in WTO but gave two conditions here instead of one condition. First condition is the in context of trade war. Second, you have to take care about the India's interests. Now, how to write this kind of question? This is, I think, new question for us. Now, in this kind of question, you cannot create the separate heading for each aspect. Basically, within the reform only, you need to mention the India's interest involved. See, to be honest with the WTO, the major issue is that the food security issue. We are giving subsidy under the agreement on agriculture, that amber box. Currently, there is peace clause, right? So that solution we need, and that is the dispute with the US and the West. Second is that we have the issue with respect to the supply chain. Basically, what is happening is that China is weaponizing the supply chain because they have the control over the critical minerals. Why they are doing that? Because of the trade war with US. Is it impacting India? Yes. Why? 80% of our rare earth minerals are coming from China. So how three things are linked? That UPSC wants to know, the examiner. China is imposing something. Trade wars is happening between what? US, China. Nobody has mentioned that. Nobody has defined the trade war. Directly you came to the reform. That part is missing. See here. This everyone has written, origin is GATT and present form in 1990s, to be exact 1995. You have written, I missed that. Goal, okay, I gave this. However, recent trade war between US-China, US-Russia, etc. impacted its survival and functioning. This is the key part which helps you to tell the examiner that you have addressed the trade war also. I define the trade war by giving the example. Now examiner will know this person knows the word is trade war. And now see the subheading. Following areas need reforms, which also concerns India interest. Here I address the next part. Getting? Now how I am bringing the India's concern? See, food security and agreement on the agriculture, permanent solution on peace clause for subsidies on agriculture for food security. Directly interests the India. First point. See, unilateral tariff imposition is against the mandates and spirit of WTO Charter. Example, US tariff on India 50%. Does it impact India? Yes. We all know this tariff. Nobody wrote this. Then, huge state subsidy and the dumping disrupts local businesses. China state steel companies dumping in India. They dump the cheap steel in India, our steel companies collapse. Then they increase the price. WTO is not able to do something about it. Right? Then supply chain disruption and the weaponization of supply chain, China on the critical minerals, India imports 80%. Then the appellate tribunal functioning and US influence over it. It also impacts. Getting? So in such kind of question, you cannot create that too in the 10 marker, separate heading for everything. So in the, you give the point, and in the example, you give the how India's interest is involved. In the conclusion, I have given norms. New orientation for reformed multilateral system suggested by India can make WTO survive the turbulent geopolitics and trade war, you can say. So concluding also as per the question demand, because question is saying how it can survive. If this reform we will win, it can survive the turbulent geopolitics. So this answer actually is as per the demand of the question. First, yes, it is talking about the reform is needed. It has addressed the trade war. It has brought the reforms, suggested the reform. It has considered the India's interest. And it is giving the conclusion which is to ensure the survival of the WTO, which was the demand of the question. Now this is a complex question. To be really honest, it's not a direct question where you can just use the template. It's not possible here. And as already said, in this organization, the questions are going to be the direct. Here you cannot create, everywhere you cannot create the templates, not possible. But these understandings we read when we cover the international organization. For the prelims also, important things we cover. So here what is important is the answer writing, right? I mean, if such kind of complex question is asked, how to address such kind of question when the multiple context has been given. But the keyword, see, trade war is a keyword. At least one should define that, isn't it? It's not self-explained. But the India's interest is nothing like you can define. You have to bring within the point. Again, this answer is shared in the group. Try to see and reflect what you were thinking while writing it. What I have written and have explained to you also based on that understanding. Try to internalize it like how exactly these kind of questions are written. Until and unless you are not doing this thinking part, reflection part, then the learning won't come. Okay? So the first question, that is the diaspora question, was the direct question. You could easily write. So now you are able to write those direct questions, but when the question came little difficult, it is causing some difficulty in writing and understanding the question. So that we need to gradually learn. So this question was very good question to learn this learn this particular answer writing. Clear? Any doubt here? Then we'll close the class because time is already. So with this, we have completed the international relations. We have seen the bilateral relations with the neighbors, with the superpowers. Then we have seen the multilateral organizations. We have seen the regional organization as well as the diaspora. All aspects. Now you have the sufficient understanding to write any question of international relation. Quality will improve gradually based on what content you are reading, how much notes, how much revision you have made. But you have the framework that you won't leave any question of international relation. You have the sufficient terminologies, you have the introduction, you have the conclusion, you know having some understanding about IR, because the question, the session was not only about the answer writing, was also we got some perspective about the international relation, what is strategic interest of India, how prioritization is important. Those are also important and which we covered in today's class. Thank you so much.